Second Take. Today's video is going to be about real-world firearms, ammunition, and what people do when they're in a scarcity situation where they need to make a weapon, not a firearm, a weapon happen. Now, spoiler, you build a bow and arrow. You build a slingshot. You learn to build a sling where you're just throwing a rock really hard. You build an atlatl to make a spear go faster. But let's do the firearms thing because that's what we use in video games for PvP for some reason. First, we're going to talk about ammunition costs in reality, and we're going to convert them into scrap or bottle caps or seashells or whatever you're going to use in your game. 7 cents a round for .22 long rifle. The reason we begin with that is that's the lowest cost ammunition I could find. That means it'll be the most available presumptively in a video game situation and honestly in reality. And yes, years down the line, the more available, the cheaper it was. They all kind of add up to being what you're going to find. Less than 100 foot-pounds of energy at muzzle from whatever barrel it was fired at. It doesn't matter which one it is, we're just going to use the number. And it goes just under the speed of sound, depending on your altitude, at 1,080 feet per second. Yes, someone's going to correct me below in the comment section. I don't care. We're just using the numbers. Above or below the speed of sound, and if it's heavily above, that's all caps. That'll be our hypersonic ammo, we're going to call it, for sniping. Now that corresponds, if you were to scrap build one in Rust Legacy for this version of 223, which is 22 long rifle, it's a little dinky cartridge, to using a very oddly specific hunk of pipe that just happens to be able to do the job. That was the one example that was gotten right in a field expedient manual for the Army, for some reason. I have the reason in another video. And it works out to being what looks like the right diameter. It looks right, looks the part. And 22 LR at only under 100 foot-pounds. That gives you an idea why this unit is 7 cents each, but it's our starting point. See, we have our damage numbers. We have our cost for the ammunition, and it's one pipe. And it's 1/8. We're going to give it a value, pipe value of 1/8. Now we're going to go on to the next one. 9mm and 380 ACP both suffer from the same problem. There's an oddly specific piece of tubing, not as common as pipe, that it would fit, and its value is 3/4. We're going to call it a 3/4 pipe in our gaming universe, and it's legit. But it's true 3/4, so it's a bit different. Oh God, is it different? So, and it does not look the part. But anyway, those are 23 cents a pop, pun intended, for 9mm at 300 foot-pounds. We get 3 times the damage. And the speed range is about the same range, considered subsonic or supersonic, depending on what you're looking at. We're talking the cheapest stuff. It happens to have about the same range, 1,100 feet per second versus 1,080. Now we're going to do this faster. 380 ACP, which is virtually the same thing as it, along with 357. These are 9mm ranged cartridges, or variety, or calibers, truly calibers. And it works out at 218 foot-pounds, and it's at 1,020 feet per second, and it's 30 cents instead of 23 cents like the 9mm. And again, we're starting at 7 cents for 22 long rifles. Same velocity, much lower foot-pounds, but highly available because of the price tag being so low. Let's assume that. Let's move on. 1,200 foot-pound 20 gauge. 1,200 feet per second. It's now supersonic. 35 cents. For 5 cents more, we get an absurd increase in energy on impact. Okay? It's 35 cents. For 36 cents, we get 12 gauge, 3,000 foot-pounds of energy, 1,100 feet per second, 36 cents, 1 penny more. And the pipes are both the pipe value, 3/4. One is thicker than the other, so we'd have to have another variable in our math equation at our workbenches or whatever, or for how many bottle caps we trade for the pipe. I'm doing pipe because we're doing scrap-made weapons first here. Now we're going to get to the one that Americans look at. We're just going to do 223,556. Okay? 1,280 foot-pounds, as much energy, approximately as much energy on it, out of the barrel as a 20 gauge. The velocity is 3 times faster. It's 3,240 feet per second. 38 cents, 2 cents more, and we get something that has a fantastically long range It's a small bullet. It's as small as our cheapest one, but it's being driven by a fuck ton more energy. Like literally almost 13, actually it is 13 times the energy. It's 13 times the amount of propellant. That's how it works. Total foot-pounds is equivalent to the amount of propellant if you're using exactly the same projectiles. In fact, they are almost exactly the same projectile. Like it's just a jacked up version of it. And the trajectory is truly sniper level for the most part in a video game. And in reality, and it uses a pipe at 1/8, the same pipe value as the 22 LR. And you can put a chamber at each end. And you can buy barrels like that, in reality, a subcaliber adapter, so you can just throw it into what we're going to talk about next, the oldie shotguns. Now that's all of the ammunition discussed, the price tags and the range. Now we're going to do the cap rating. Now I'm going to use this as making it to where our most expensive item is 1,000 units of purchase, so 1,000 caps. And our cheapest thing is going to be .5, that's 22 long rifle. Then it goes up to 2 caps for the next round, 3 caps for the next, 3.5 for the next, or 4 caps for the most expensive one. If you haven't figured it out, that's an 8-to-1 ratio for the ammunition costs, and we go from 100 foot-pounds to 3,200 foot-pounds. We go from 1,000 feet per second to up to 3,000 feet per second. It's the foot-pounds. I mean, it's a 32-to-1 for an 8-to-1 cost in reality. So let's translate that to the game. Now, we're going to talk about the gaming universe of multi-caliber, shoots everything guns. We're going to get right out of the way. I'm going to say this. The 9mm is the most obnoxious to make a barrel for. You can do the easy barrel that does horrible and reduces effectiveness 50% minimum. Weapon. Almost 1,000 units, and that's what we're going to call it, but it's 900 units, and it's the $900. Phillips Rodgers Medusa. It's a revolver that fires anything that's 9mm-esh, anything you can shove into the chamber. It's a revolver. They also made a conversion cylinder for a smaller amount I'll bring up in a minute, but it shoots everything badly except for the main thing it's really chambered for, because there'll be one chambering that works best, versus just swapping out cylinders in ordinary revolvers for it, or just making a cylinder if you're post-apocalyptic, you're making one. Next is the Thompson Center break action single shot, not a revolver. You can barrel swap it to any chambering, and it was designed for that purpose. And it's a handgun. And if you put a long enough barrel, that's called a firearm legally. And a firearm can legally be converted over to a long gun by adding a buttstock. It has to have a barrel long enough, 18 inches plus, and you add a buttstock to it to where it's 26 inches long or longer, or just make it whatever length you want to. That product created the law in the United States that allows for that. $600. $180. This is a drop. I'm sure it's a shotgun. Now, flare gun, the big kind, the 1-inch bore, 4-gauge, or 26.5mm, all steel flare gun. Well, it's not all steel. A lot of it's plastic. This is not designed to do what you think here, but it'll tolerate subcaliber adapters, and people have demonstrated that it'll fire almost anything. It's a bad idea. Make long barrels, and you've got the same thing as the Thompson Center for $130 almost. Kind of. And you just buy a 9mm barrel, or you put in the effort to make a 9mm barrel, because out of all of these, the 9mm is the cheapest, the most practical, but it's the biggest pain in the ass to build a barrel for. So just buy a 9mm. But let's move on. $100. Any used, good, break action, on sale shotgun from Walmart even. Any subcaliber adapter will be built to fit into it. Unless you're doing something truly bizarre, you won't need to change the barrel. You just put in a subcaliber adapter. They're readily available, and they go for $55. Subcaliber adapter inserts also include for the 9mm. And they're rifle length, which means you get as much pep as possible out of them. And if you want to, if you find out that the barrel's too long, you can drill back from the other end. And you can also just put a chambering on each end of the thing for 9mm and 380. The 380 is cheaper, so you drill it for 9mm. Also, you can get a 223 5.56 long gun barrel and then drill the other end for 22 long rifle and flip it around too, as a subcaliber adapter or just a barrel. So in the game, I would make it to where that would be an option. Makes sense, and you'd be walking around with basically break action 12 gauge and probably another $100 worth of just two swappable items. Again, the 9mm and 223 and 22 long rifle. The 12 gauge is already 12 gauge, and a 20 gauge is just another hunk of steel tubing in it. They make that too. So for $250, yeah. Then we get the hardware store pipe guns. This is what we talk about in the video game. This is our units of 3/4 or 1/8 pipe value. $50 for the whole goddamn thing. $60, that sort of thing. You need drill bits, a welder, toolbox maybe, but you can do it without those. There's a way to build it with almost no tooling required. The drill is almost mandatory, though. If you have a milling equipment, CNC machine, much easier. Now we get to don't fucking do this. There are two subcaliber adapters that can be built or bought that will technically work, and it is legal in a few places, so I'm bringing it up. A plastic flare gun. In the United States, if you're not aware of it, if you're from outside of the United States, we have 12 gauge handguns that are made entirely out of plastic because that was a fucking great idea. Instead of making where they just only fire flares, and it's a 12 gauge flare gun. It's created by a company that made 12 gauge shells, so that's what it happened to be. And there are several versions of it, including a really old version that could take the pressure from a real shotgun shell twice. So they altered it so it wouldn't do that because that was a bad idea. Honestly, it is. You can also get an all-metal 12-gauge flare gun that has a plastic barrel. Then legally convert it with a long barrel to a firearm. That's not illegal. And get a permit to convert it back with a steel barrel. And these days it's $0. It used to be $5 or $200. Either one requires the same amount of paperwork and you're going to wait a year. Or just go to Walmart and spend $100 on a 12-gauge. I'm sorry, but serious. In reality, just go get the damn shotgun. But anyway. But for about $50, you can get something that will fire. It doesn't really fire. Okay, it's CB and BB caps. It's a gallery gun. It fires things you used to use at the fair to shoot targets with. It'll fire that. It'll also fire 22 short subsonic. That actually exists. It's so low power it's safe-ish. Don't do this. You can watch a YouTube channel where he blows up one of these things. Flare gun, real rounds in a flare gun. It's hilarious. It's explosive. Now, the values. We have 1,000 caps for the expensive one. Then it goes to 500. I'm rounding down and up. 100, then 50 caps per gun. Or, if we're doing it as the minimum cost of a 22 LR being one cap, we get ammunition for 1 unit, 4 units, 6 units, 7 units, and 8 units per round. And for the gun, we go for 100 units, 200, 1,000, and 2,000 units. You notice there's a different spread here. There's a 20-to-1 spread on the ammunition, on the weapon, and an 8-to-1 on the ammunition. And again, we'd be reloading things. The original version of Rust Legacy had empty cartridges you'd find because when you fire it, they'd be on the ground. You could pick them up. That was the idea, I guess. I want to re-implement that. And again, all things considered, because you can reload it, 9mm is the best bang for your buck, and it's what you'd go for. But hey, it's a game balancing mechanic. It's a bitch to make the barrel. It's not okay. You'd end up buying pre-made barrels or just tearing apart one gun and make another. And again, in reality, if you're talking about just survival hunting and maybe some self-defense, a 12-gauge break-action shotgun for $100, or and buy one damn 9mm handgun for about the same price some places. And in the video game, yeah, that would be your deal. You'd have 2 different ammunitions, but you could do every one of them, but it would only be able to be done universally, with the only universal one in this that is dyed-in-the-wool safe, the $100 12-gauge. But then again, you could make a $60 12-gauge or nothing cost out of hunks of pipe, because that's actually a thing, and you can see that on YouTube. They're called pipe guns. And that's not in any of the video games? Okay, this is the rant. Why? Anyway. But yeah, that was the video for today. And again, I do this every year or 6 months where I talk about the price tags for cheap ammunition as an example of how the economy is working and how paranoia is working. There's your numbers. And as for firearms, yeah, it's still the same shit it was before any of the shit hit the fan the last time and when it did the last time. It's a stable world. Enjoy it while you can. And if it does collapse, these ratios will be there, but they're going to be different prices. And they're going to be different difficulties, and people have different priorities. Hunks of pipe and a Walmart shotgun. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. You'll all need